Every Christmas, my mother calls me a disappointment for not bringing a boyfriend. This year, I set an alarm for 7:15. When the doorbell rings, the living room won't look at me the same way again. Snow hissed against the front steps, the kind that looks pretty until it finds your socks. Inside, the house smelled like pine and brown sugar. The tree leaned a little, heavy with ornaments that told our history in glitter. Baby's first Christmas. Lauren and Matt engaged, a tiny cap and gown from my sister's year. There isn't one for me. Mum said, you have to earn those. Grace, she called from the kitchen, bright and sharp, wipe your boots, and try not to track in your independence. She said the last word like it was an allergy. I wiped, I said. Setting my cookie tin on the counter, Lauren floated in wearing red velvet and a new diamond. Matt hovered, helpful in a performative way. Dad adjusted the TV volume like it was a problem he could solve. The mantel was crowded with stockings. Mum, Dad, Lauren, Matt, mine hung at the end. 2 inches lower, because the hook is loose. Nobody fixes it. Mum lifted the lid on my cookies and smiled with only the top half of her face. At least you can bake, she said. Maybe next year, you'll bring company is overrated, I said. But my throat said it softer than I intended. A boyfriend wouldn't kill you, she went on. You're 30, honey. Christmas is about families. I am family. I wanted to say it, loud enough to shake the glass reindeer. Instead, I took the kettle off the boil and poured tea like a waitress. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A calendar alert, 7:15. Front door. I slid my thumb over the screen to silence it and touched the envelope in my coat. Heavy paper. One word that still made my hands shake when I saw it. Approved, Grace. Dad said, eyes still on the game, how's work at the shelter? You still doing volunteer stuff? It's a job, I said. Full-time benefits. Benefits are nice, Mum said. But a husband is better. Matt chuckled into his cider. Lauren pretended not to hear. The string lights flickered, and Mum looked at me like I had done it. There are things I haven't told them. The home inspection passed on Tuesday. The spare room holds a new twin bed and a blue quilt I found at a thrift store. The social worker's name is Dana. She told me to breathe and to expect nerves. She said sometimes families are made by paperwork and stubbornness. She said sometimes they arrive with a backpack and a look that checks every exit dot at 7:14. The game cut to commercial and carols hummed from the kitchen radio. I checked the peephole like it could calm my heart. I tucked the envelope deeper into my coat and wiped my palms on my jeans. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments about which country you're watching this video from. Enjoy the story. Mum set down the gravy spoon and looked at me like a teacher taking attendance. Well, she said, any special news, or should we brace for another year of disappointment? The doorbell rang. The doorbell rang. Mum froze with the gravy spoon mid-air. Grace, if this is a delivery, it's not a delivery, I said. Already moving, I opened the door to cold air and 2 figures on the porch. Dana in her wool coat, cheeks pink from the wind, and a small boy in a puffy jacket with a superhero backpack and a paper snowflake crushed in his fist. Hi, Grace, Dana said, low and warm. Sorry, we're a minute early. The roads. I went to my knees so we were eye level. Hey buddy, I said. I'm Grace. He nodded. He didn't let go of the snowflake. His eyes checked the living room like exits. This is Tyler, Dana said softly. 7? Emergency placement. Mum's in the hospital tonight and the regular foster home is full. It's short-term until we know more. I felt the room turn behind me. The TV went quiet. Or I stopped hearing it, Mum's single quotes as voice rose over the tree lights. Grace, who is this? I stood and stepped back so they could come in. Mum, Dad, Lauren, Matt, I said, steady. This is Dana from the county, and this is Tyler. He's staying with me. You brought a child home on Christmas Eve. Mum said, as if I'd tracked mud on the nativity. Dana stayed calm. Ma'am, we called ahead. Grace confirmed, 7:15. She's licensed and cleared. Home inspection passed. This is a safe, approved placement. I pulled the heavy envelope from my coat and set it on the hall table. Seal already broken. Approved foster care license under it, a printed email, placement confirmation, Tyler, W, date, time, my name. Dad blinked at the paper like a flashlight had turned on in his face. You, what? I finished the classes in October, the background checks in November. The room last week, I said. I didn't tell you because I knew what you'd say. Lauren opened her mouth, closed it, looked at Tyler instead. Hi, she said softly. I'm Lauren. She crouched and pointed at the tree. We have ornaments shaped like dinosaurs. Want to see? Tyler's hand tightened on the snowflake. Mum recovered first. Absolutely not, she said, voice crisp. This is a family holiday. We are not doing a project. Dana's eyes sharpened. He can hear you, she said gently. I stepped closer to Tyler until he could see only my face. You like hot chocolate? I asked. He nodded once. Marshmallows? Another nod, tiny. Grace, Mum said. Lower now. You need a boyfriend. Not a, I need to do what I'm good at, I said. Still looking at Tyler. And I'm good at showing up. Dana checked her watch. I'll keep this short. I have his file, medication list, emergency numbers. He'll need to be enrolled for the holiday meal program tomorrow morning. Grace knows the drill. Absolutely not, Mum repeated. Her smile turned brittle for Dana. We're set for dinner. We don't have kid food. We have food, I said. We have a room. We have a quilt. We have a nightlight with stars. Tyler's eyes flicked to mine at stars. Dana handed me the folder. Call if you need anything. I'll check in at 9. She turned to Tyler. You're safe here, she said. Plain and sure. He looked at the paper snowflake in his fist, like it was a map. Do I have to be quiet? He asked. Only if you want to, I said. The wind pushed a ribbon on the wreath. Dana stepped back onto the porch. Merry Christmas, she said, and left us in the doorway. The house held its breath. The tree light clicked, then steadied. Tyler stared at the stockings and the blinking reindeer, and finally at me. Do I get a hook with my name? He asked. I swallowed. You do now, I said, and took his hand. Tyler stood just inside the doorway, boots dripping on the mat. He kept his superhero backpack on like armor. Shoes here, I said, pointing to the tray. You can keep the backpack if you want. He nodded and peeled off his boots. His socks were thin and damp. I crouched, pulled a clean pair from the tote I'd packed, and held them out. These are warm. He watched my face while he put them on, like he was reading subtitles. Mum hovered by the kitchen pass-through, smile sharp. Grace, this is chaos. We set the table for 6. We're still 6, I said. I'll grab the folding chair. I took Tyler's hand and led him to the tree. He stared at the ornaments like a museum he wasn't sure he could touch. Pick a spot for your snowflake, I asked. He looked at the bottom branches and shook his head. Then his eyes climbed to the empty space where a hook had been loose for years, my stocking, lower than the rest. He pointed. There. I reached into the drawer where Mum keeps twist ties and candle lighters and pulled out a plain red stocking I'd bought last week. I took the sheet of felt letters from my coat, pocket till appeal, stick, press. It looked homemade because it was. The loose hook wobbled. Of course it did. I slid a screwdriver from my tote. 2 seconds, I said. 3 turns. Metal tightened. The hook held. Silence from the room. The TV stayed on mute. Matt pretended to drink his cider. Lauren watched me like she'd never seen my hands do anything but carry plates. I hung the stocking and handed Tyler the snowflake. He reached up, tongue at the corner of his mouth, and set it dead center under his name. Good? I asked. He nodded once. His shoulders dropped a ½ inch. I went to the kitchen, pulled milk from the fridge, and set a pot on the stove. Mum reached to relight a cinnamon candle. I blew it out gently. He has mild asthma, I said, tapping the note in the folder. Scented candles can bother him. Mum held the match like a tiny surrender flag. She put it down. Tyler hovered at the threshold. Am I allowed to talk? He asked. You are allowed to be you, I said. Also, to drink hot chocolate with too many marshmallows. A buzz lit my phone. Dana, roads getting worse. Heads up, likely 40-80 hour placement, not just tonight. I'll call at 9. Storm. 2 days. I looked up. Lauren saw the text over my shoulder and didn't look away. Okay, she said quietly, to me and maybe to herself. Okay. Mum heard the word storm and stiffened. Absolutely not. We are not hosting a child in a blizzard. Lauren cut in, soft but steel. That is exactly what we're doing. Mum's jaw worked. This is not a real family, Grace. This is paperwork. Tyler flinched like the word hit. I kept my voice even. It's both, I said. Paperwork, so the world knows he belongs somewhere. People, so he feels it. Mum reached for the house phone on the wall and dialed the number on Dana's card. Speaker rings. Dana picked up on the Second County Family Services. This is Dana. This is Tyler's host's mother, Mum said, putting extra weight on the word. We were not consulted. This is Christmas. This is Dana's tone stayed warm, immovable. Ma'am, the licensed foster parent is Grace. We consult the foster parent. Tyler is safe. I appreciate the concern. Mum pressed her lips together until they went white. She hung up. I poured hot chocolate into a mug and set it on a saucer like a peace offering. Stars after this, I told Tyler. I have a nightlight that makes them on the ceiling. He looked at me for 3 whole seconds, then reached for the mug. Lauren drifted to my side. I'll find the folding chair, she said, and the kid plates with the blue rims. Matt blinked. We have kid plates. We do now, Lauren said, already moving. The wind pushed at the windows. The lights flickered and held. Tyler cradled his mug and watched the tree reflect in it like a small lake dot. Mum set the gravy spoon down too hard. Grace, she said, brittle. You think this makes you less of a disappointment? No, I said. I think it makes dinner bigger. The doorbell rang again. All heads turned. The wind howled. And for the first time all night, I saw my mother hesitate before she spoke. The doorbell rang again. Dad glanced at the window. The snow came down sideways now, thick as static. He opened the door to a woman in a knit hat with a county badge on a lanyard and a canvas duffel. I'm Miller Holiday response, she said, breath fogging. Traffic was a mess. I've got Tyler's kit clothes, toothbrush, and the inhaler with spacer. Also a stuffed dino someone donated. She smiled at Tyler Green with teeth. Tyler's hand left his mug. For the first time, I saw curiosity win a small fight on his face. He took the duffel like a secret. Thank you, I said. Myla stepped inside and the house side. The chandelier flickered once, twice, then everything went black. The TV went quiet. The fridge clicked off. Wind pressed its palm against the glass. Mum gasped. Grace, the oven, don't open it, I said. It'll dump the heat. I moved without thinking. No candles. I looked at Tyler Esma. Mum's hand hovered over a jar of holiday tapers. She let it fall. Flashlights in the hall closet, Dad muttered, already bumping into furniture. I've got it, I said. I grabbed my tote, unzipped the top, and pulled out 2 LED lanterns, a headlamp, and a small power station I keep for shelter runs. I clicked a lantern on and set it on the table. The room snapped into soft, steady light. Miller whistled low. Prepared occupational hazard, I said. Tyler, buddy, can I see the inhaler? He handed it over with the kind of careful you use for things that matter. I checked the spacer, the dose counter, the note in his folder. Stress is a trigger, Dana had written. Cold air too, I crouched. We're going to do 2 puffs with the spacer, I said. Slow breaths, like smelling hot chocolate. He nodded. He was brave because he had no other choice. I counted with him. 1, 2, he breathed. The spacer hissed. The tiny rattle in his chest softened by degrees. Behind me, Mum watched, hands curled in on themselves. Lauren stood at my shoulder, steady as a good wall. The headlamp found Dad, who had discovered the wrong drawer twice, and finally the right one. He handed out 2 more flashlights, like apologies. Matt held the lantern higher over the counter so I could read the label on the med sheet. Outside, a siren dopplered away into the storm. Inside, the power station hummed a polite, quiet box. I plugged in the star projector from my go bag and set it on the hallway table. Blue-green constellations floated up the ceiling and across the walls like someone unrolling the night. Tyler forgot to hide his smile. Miller zipped her coat. Roads are closing on the east side, she said. Dana will call at 9, but assume 48 hours. You're doing great. She tipped her head at Mum and Dad with the practiced kindness of someone who walks into a lot of living rooms on hard nights. He's safe here. She left. The wind pushed the door as if to test the hinges and then moved on. We can't cook, Mum said, brittle and small in the lantern light. What are we supposed to do? Eat cold stuffing? Stovetop's gas. I said, we can warm what matters, and we can eat fruit and cookies and call it a story. Lauren was already moving. I'll do the green beans in the skillet. Matt, find the extra pot. Dad, carve by lantern. Mum? She paused, gentled her voice. Put the cinnamon candles away, please. Mum slid the box back into the drawer like she was tucking in a child. She looked at Tyler, at the spacer, at the stars drifting across the ceiling. Something in her face loosened a seam. You don't notice until it gives. Tyler lifted the stuffed dino from the duffel and tucked it under his arm. He looked up at me. Am I allowed to sleep here? He pointed at the ceiling stars like a map to the room down the hall. You are, I said. After dinner, and 1 chapter of a book with a dragon. House rules. My phone buzzed. Unknown number, with the county's area code, I answered. This is Grace. Hi, Dana said, voice steady over a line that crackled like the sky. Storms worse than we thought. 2 updates. Placement extended through Sunday night, and one more thing. Tyler's mum is stable, but can't take him back yet. There's a chance this moves to short-term care for a few weeks. I looked at Tyler, at the stars settling on his hair, at my mother, standing very still beside the drawer with the candles she didn't light. Okay, I said. We're ready. Dana exhaled. I knew you would be. I'll call again at 9. I hung up. The house breathed. The lantern hummed. Snow pressed its ear to the window to listen. Mum's voice came soft in the dim. Grace, she said. Not a performance this time. What do you need from me? I opened my mouth to answer, but the front door shivered again. And a gloved hand knocked fast, urgent. County plow, a voice called through the wood. We've got stranded drivers. Can your house take 2 for an hour to warm up? The room looked at me. Christmas had arrived with more than carols. Open it, I said. Dad opens the door. 2 shapes push in with the Stormer County plow driver dusted white, and a woman in blue scrubs with a bright orange knit hat. Just need to warm up 10-15 minutes, the driver says, teeth chattering. Road closed at the light. She was stuck behind me. The woman in scrubs hugs herself and apologizes to the air. I see you. If we can get a window, I'll hoof it the rest. Come in, I say. Boot trays here. Stove is gas. We've got heat that doesn't need an outlet. The lantern throws steady light. Lauren slides an extra chair to the table without being asked. Matt clears space by the vent. Dad brings blankets from the hall. Mum hovers a half second, then moves fruit, crackers, cheese. Not a candle in sight. Tyler watches the new people like animals at the edge of a field. The woman in scrubs smiles soft. Hey kiddo, she doesn't ask questions. She holds her hands to the lantern and closes her eyes like someone who knows shifts. I stir a pot of soup on the stovetop. 2 bowls, I say. 3, actually. I ladle one for Tyler first. He sits at the end of the table by the stars crawling across the ceiling and dips his spoon like he's afraid the soup might leave if he looks away. The house takes orders from the storm, then decides to be itself anyway. My phone buzzes at 9. Dana, I put it on speaker. Hi. Grace. Roads are officially closed until morning. Placement extended through Sunday night. Tyler's mum is stable. That's the word. She pauses. You're okay? We're okay, I say, looking around the room. We're full. Call if you need anything, Dana says. Merry Christmas. I hang up. The plow driver checks his watch. We should head back, he says, but he doesn't stand. The woman in scrubs finishes her soup and pulls on her gloves. Thank you, she says to Mum. You saved me an hour of shaking. Mum flinches like the thanks hits somewhere new. Be careful, she says, and means it. They leave to the sound of wind and gratitude. The door thumps shut. The house exhales again. Tyler, Lauren says, kneeling beside him. Want to help me guard the green beans from Uncle Matt? He's very suspicious around vegetables. Tyler cracks a smile. It's small. It's real. Mum watches and then turns to me. She picks up the empty mug I used for hot chocolate and holds it like a question. What now? She asks. Now, I say, we eat. Then we read a chapter with a dragon. Then we put the starlight in the room with the blue quilt. He sleeps with the door cracked. In the morning, we find snow boots in the closet and pancakes on the stove. Mum nods like she's learning a recipe. She reaches into the drawer where she keeps the emergency pens and pulls out a sheet of plain white labels. Her hands shake a little as she writes Tyler in block letters. Then she peels the paper and presses it onto the red stocking under the tightened hook, smoothing the corners like a wound that needs clean tape. I can do pancakes, she says, voice low. And labels. I can. Stop saying things that don't help. It's not a speech. It's better. We eat by lantern. Dad tells a quiet story about the blizzard when he was 10. Matt learns where the kid plates live. Lauren holds the star projector while Tyler brushes his teeth so it can charge up the sky. When I tuck him into the room with the blue quilt, the stuffed dino is under his chin and the stars move slow across the ceiling like a promise that doesn't need words. He looks at me for a long beat. Am I allowed to stay? He whispers. Tonight, and 2 more, I say. We'll take care of the in-betweens. He nods. His eyes close by degrees. Back in the living room, Mum stands by the tree. She looks at me, and then at the stocking line, Mom, Dad, Lauren, Matt, Tyler and, finally, at mine. She lifts my hook 2 inches to match the rest and presses it into the wood like a decision. I was wrong, she says, simply. You're not a disappointment. You're you, thanks. I say. It fits. The wind keeps working the windows. The lantern hums. The house is the same, and not the same. Every Christmas. My mother wanted me to bring a boyfriend. I brought a boy who needed a door to open and a room that could hold him. The storm will pass. The labels will curl. The stars will turn off, but tonight, the room looks at me differently, and it's enough.